What's going on, guys? Boss6 here, back to your video, and today, man oh man, we are almost here to the Super Bowl. 4 games, 3 games left, 2 winners, 1 Super Bowl champion. It doesn't get any better than that, man. It really does not. So, yeah, without further ado, the divisional round is done and over with. We are into the championship games, and yeah, the divisional round. I got some things to say about that because oh boy, that was certainly something. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the championship games. Starting off with the NFC Championship game, we've got the Washington Commanders versus the Philadelphia Eagles. You've heard that right. The Washington Commanders have been to a championship game more recently than the Dallas Cowboys. First of all, that is hilarious. And another statistic too, all other NFC teams have been to a championship game more recently than Dallas. That's also hilarious. But number 2, what? I'm still in shock that actually happened. Look, let me get into this right here, right now. The Washington Commanders, I didn't think they were going to go that far into the wild card or in the playoffs, considering that they were a wild card team. They managed to knock off the Bucs. But going into this divisional game against Detroit, I figured they're going to give up a good fight, but I don't think they're going to go far. I was certainly wrong. I was so wrong, and a lot of us were. And look, Washington did what they had to do. Jayden Daniels went to Soldier Field, dropped those nuts all over that defense, and Washington fans are probably the happiest they have been in a long time. And Wildflower is certainly grinning from ear to ear. And it's very weird. 3 NFC North teams, 2 of which had over 14 wins, and none of them won a playoff game. That is absolutely brutal. Now, let me get my thoughts on the Lions this year. Hold on, there was some... Oh, that was a wrapper. Anyways, let me get my thoughts on the Lions here really quick. Despite the fact they had the number 1 seed, had one of the best scoring offenses in the league, and they were 15-2, this was still a lost season for them. And it's sad to say because I wanted this team to go far, but you can only go so far with a battered defense. And before anyone says anything, I know the 2010 Packers won the Super Bowl in 2010 and they didn't really have that great of a defense. However, look at the 2011 Packers. They were 15-1, had Aaron Rodgers, who was lighting up the charts as the MVP. And what did they do? They collapsed against the Giants, who admittedly had a good defense. But they didn't have a good defense either. They were ranked dead last, I believe, at that point. Detroit, they were battered to hell and back. And people are like, it doesn't matter if you have a defense. It all matters if you have an offense. Folks, defense also wins championships. I am just saying, defense can help you win games. And before anyone says anything, well, how come they went 15-2 then? They should have lost 4 games. Admittedly, they should, but that's because the defense, what's left of them anyways, were actually stepping up. Dude, Amik Robertson broke his arm on the 3rd play of the game, for Christ's sake. What does that tell you about that defense? If the defense was healthier and then they still lost, okay, that would have been excusable. But Detroit, it's just kind of a bum season for them, man. I was really hoping that they were going to go far, but ultimately they didn't. And this was the last time that we're probably going to see Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, which, speaking of Ben Johnson, just moments ago, he has been hired as the head coach for the Chicago Bears, which is a pretty big stab in the heart there for Detroit fans. And not to mention, Jared Goff had a pretty bad game, admittedly, even though the Lions and the Washington Commanders had over 1,000 yards of offense combined. But yeah, it's still pretty sad to see how Detroit kind of ended up this season. They were good, but the defense can only hold you back for so long. They'll be back. I'm not really going to worry about Detroit all too much. They probably won't get another 15-2 record anytime soon. They just need that defense healthy. They just need to be healthy, and then they'll be on their merry way. But enough about Detroit. Washington, congratulations on going to the championship game. I don't care if you guys I don't even think Washington fans were expecting this. They're probably just as shocked as anyone else. However, that fun might not last that long, considering that they got to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles, that was close. A little too close for comfort, I would say, considering that, what were you doing? What were you doing in that last 4 minutes? You had 4.5 minutes left, and you nearly pissed it away in 3. Nick Sirianni, ladies and gentlemen, look, Saquon Barkley basically had a Shady McCoy or a LaShawn McCoy game. That all needs to be said. But I will say, that Rams defense was getting Jalen Hurts all game. There was turnovers, there was punts, there was fumbles, so many of that. There were sacks everywhere. It was ridiculous. And Jalen Hurts is looking a little bit banged up. But don't worry, that defense, and especially Saquon, is going to be carrying the load, which is essentially what happened there. And the Rams did what they had to do. They played a very, very, very good game, despite the fact that Stafford hasn't really been playing all that well lately, even though in the playoffs he is kind of someone else. But this is maybe the last time we might see Stafford on the field again, because he's probably going to be retired or retiring possibly this offseason, even though he said that he still has something left in the tank to prove. And if that's the case, go for it. I always like Stafford. I know people say he's overrated. I personally think he's overhated personally. Is he a Hall of Famer? I don't think so personally. He's a Hall of really good, but I don't think he's a Hall of Famer personally to me. However, I think Stafford is more than worthy of retiring because the dude's put his body through so much hell. He had to carry Detroit for all those years and all that stuff. But yeah, despite the fact they didn't win, hell of an effort by the Los Angeles Rams. Now, this championship game is going to be pretty interesting considering that this is going to be in Philadelphia. This is going to be in Philly territory. And while Jane Daniels has played well, the first time these two teams played, it was looking very, very, very sloppy at first, and then Philadelphia pulled away with the victory. However, it was the complete opposite the second time around. But then again, Jalen Hurts was concussed, so it depends on how the injury that Hurts has been sustaining is really going to affect this team here. So as much as I would love to see Washington go into the Super Bowl for the first time since 1991, I think it's going to be Philly's time. I think the Eagles are going to go into the Super Bowl. They're going to be the NFC team representing, and Washington's probably going to have themselves a pretty fun matchup, but I do think it's going to be Philly going into New Orleans. And then, for the AFC Championship game, we've got the Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs. AFC Championship game, Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Well, I was not expecting this matchup. I was actually expecting another matchup. The Chiefs got done knocking off the Houston Texans in a game that I had no care in the world for, and by the end of it, I still didn't care about it because we all knew what was going to happen, and in the end, it was somehow less exciting than it was originally. Look, Houston was not that convincing going into the playoffs to begin with, and while I was shocked they knocked off the Chargers, we all knew that they were going to lose to the Chiefs, and there was a lot of egregious penalties in that game. A lot. There was a hip drop call that never got called. There was a stupid roughing the passer called twice, and it was just bad. There were so many bad penalties, and it was just ridiculous. The refs have been terrible this year, and I feel like they get worse as the years go on, but yeah, it's not looking all that pretty, at least for the Chiefs side of things. Meanwhile, they're taking on the Buffalo Bills, who shocked the hell out of me by defeating the Baltimore Ravens. And oh boy, Baltimore. Mark Andrews, you're going to be learning Chinese, sir, because my God, you cannot drop that ball. And that's not the only time he's dropped it. He fumbled that bastard earlier in that quarter, and the Ravens... You have Derrick Henry. Why aren't you utilizing him? Yes, the run game was not really effective at all in that divisional round. I was actually shocked that the Buffalo's defense was actually holding firm against Henry. But still, you have a guy who was creaming them earlier in the regular season, and you decided to do dick all with them. Have you not learned from last year? Have you not learned from the championship game last year? It was utterly ridiculous. And I don't blame Lamar for being pissed. Yes, he did fumble the ball. Yes, he had a pick. But at the same time, you can't be dropping those passes, dude, because Lamar was balling for a little bit, but his teammates were not helping him in the slightest. And I hate to say it, Lamar is officially a playoff choker. I thought it was just by bad coincidence, but he has the same record as Peyton Manning has right now. He is 3 for 5. He's been to a championship game once, and he choked it away. And it's just looking terrible right now for the Ravens. So I don't know what to say other than, Ravens, you got to get your shit together, dude. You need to get yourself together, because if you don't, then oh boy, it's going to be ugly. And man, Josh Allen, he didn't do much in the game, but he did enough to help win in the outside of things. So, the last time these two teams played was actually last year in the divisional round. Why write 2 when he won? Yeah, a lot of people don't really want to remember that. A lot of Buffalo fans do. Now, this is going to be taking place in Kansas City, and I'm willing to bet there's going to be a lot of screwy ref ball going on with this game, and I will 100% acknowledge the fact that the refs are going to be utterly egregious this time around. However, I will say this. I was more impressed with Buffalo, even though I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. With that being said, I'm picking the Buffalo Bills to go into the championship, or to go into the Super Bowl this year. I do think it's their time. They prove that they can go into a Super Bowl. I just have a feeling, dude. I have a feeling. I'm going to be wrong, because I know I'm going to be. But I do think that the Bills are going to go into this. They're going to have themselves a pretty fun game against the Chiefs. And I do think that the Bills are capable of going to the Super Bowl. They're going to represent the AFC, and it's going to be Bills versus Eagles. But it's going to be Chiefs versus Eagles. Just pity us. So anyways, who do you think is going to win these games? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you guys leave a like, leave a comment, tap that bigger subscribe button, and tap the bell so when I upload, you guys will be notified. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Most importantly, join the herd. Talk to us next video. Peace out.